The majority of us go through the educational system and life and never learn what's right for us. Maybe it's time for you to create your own definition of success. And that's where we come in. This is the SUCCESSology Podcast, here to supplement the traditional education system and life with real-world skills and knowledge, helping you create your own definition of success. SUCCESSology. Here's your host, Rajdeep Singh.
Brandon, welcome to the show. It's amazing to have you here, and we hope you're doing well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be here today.
Right. So, the first thing I want to ask you is, this is from your book, Seven Figure Social Selling. And it's an anecdote where you mention, for you being at the President's Club with hundreds of salesmen and women who were all making like 6-7 figures, was like your first epiphany that made you sort of realize, you wanted to be in sales. And as a result, you started a poker marketing agency. And, when you were a freshman, which was a massive success, it generated $1 million in sales in your freshman year, $3 million in sophomore, and $6 million in junior. Now, after the first venture, you kind of started the N Mobile, which was unfortunately not successful. So can you just talk about, your thought process at the time and the lessons you've learned by working on those two separate ventures? And what, in your personal opinion, was the reason why one venture was so successful and why one venture failed?
Yeah, it's awesome. And thanks for going over the background. First step is like sales is the greatest profession in the world. It's the only profession where you can make millions of dollars with no college degree. If you think about it, like if you learn how to sell anything to anyone, your income is uncapped. You are limitless. And you could get a job anywhere selling anything to anyone. And I got to realize that with my dad. He had no college degree, and he built the first $1 billion SaaS company, B2B SaaS company in the US. And that motivated me to go to college and get into sales and launching my first poker company. The great thing about the poker was I loved poker. So the first lesson is I realized without understanding it that you have to love what you sell. So when I realized I was a big online gambler, I was a big poker gambler. I'm like, well, instead of trying to make all this money playing poker and having to waste 50 hours a day at the table, right? And making a little money here, a little money there over time, hourly rate is $100, $200. I'm like, well, what if I just sold and marketed these online gambling sites and recruited people and sold them to join these sites? Because then I could make thousands of dollars per hour. I was like, and that's when I pitched them, hey, I'll recruit all these people and you pay me $200. They said no, they paid me $100, $125 a user. I signed up. And then I just exponentially increased my income potential. Because instead of playing poker and only making $100 an hour, I could now recruit people to join the poker sites, and I could recruit 1,000 people in 1 hour using online marketing and advertising and selling door to door and you name it. So the first learning experience there is you have to love what you do. You have to be obsessed with the product. Like when I would go and sell for Party Poker, Poker Stars, Full Tilt Poker, you name it, I knew that online gambling was amazing. I was passionate about it. And everyone I talked to loved online gambling as well. They loved poker. So when I would tell them, hey, let me get you signed up for Party Poker. I noticed you were playing at Full Tilt Poker, you name it. I'd go over the benefits. I'd go over the reasons why they should join, and I'd get them signed up. So like the first big learning experience was you have to love the product that you're going to sell. And then number two was you have to do whatever it takes. So like whatever it takes as in work your ass off. So when I first started the venture, I had to cold call all the poker companies, and they were all over the globe, right? International, pitching them, cold calling them to give me a shot at marketing and advertising for them and selling for them. And then when I finally got them to do the deal, I had to go dorm room to dorm room. I literally started at James Hall at Ohio University, and I went knocking dorm room to dorm room. Hey, let me sign you up to join Full Tilt Poker. Let me sign you up to join Poker Stars. Let me sign you up to join Party Poker. I literally signed people up for 3 different poker sites in one session. And I went to a door on the first floor, level 1 of James Hall. Then I went on the second floor, knocked door to door, signed everyone up. Knocked third level floor, signed everyone up. Then I went to the next dorm hall, which was across the street, started knocking dorm room to dorm room, signed everyone up. So it just takes a lot of hard work. And I did that, and then I took it online, and it went from $1 million to 3 to 4 million to 6 million. It was amazing, but it took so much hard work. And in sales, in entrepreneurship, you have to love your product, and then you have to work hard at selling and marketing it. So that was like the biggest difference between poker and then like when I was selling in mobile text message marketing. It was a product I never really used, and I just thought I would make a lot of money doing it. So that's the third lesson is don't follow the money. Like, don't do something because you think you're going to make a lot of money, because to be honest, eventually you'll get so sick and tired of not making any money that you'll quit. Like, people start businesses, I don't know anything about this industry, but I'm going to invent a product that will make a lot of money in that industry. But they have no knowledge, they have no passion, they have no purpose, they have no mission. And then they go try to do that, and then they fail for 6 months, and then they fail for a year. And then most entrepreneurs, salespeople, marketers, they quit. And they quit because they don't have the passion, the mission, the vision to do it. So that's what happened in mobile. We were trying for years to build this text message marketing software. The reason why it failed was, number one, we didn't know how to sell it. We didn't know how to sell to B2B. We didn't have the B2B list that we needed to sell to. We wish we had Seamless.AI at the time, but we didn't. Two, it was like something that we thought we'd make a lot of money, and then over time, we just weren't making much of any money, and we lost interest. We lost millions, and we hated it, and then we quit. But if we loved and were passionate about that business, we would have done whatever it took to be successful, and we never would have quit. So those were the learning experiences there with those two companies.
Absolutely. So just a couple of things. I think people fall into the fallacy that, making money is, so I'll give an example. You say, okay, we're going to call 1,000 people. Now, 10% of those people will, potentially reply back. That's like the go-to figure, 10%. But that's not how it usually works. People underestimate how much hard work it really takes to get those first 100 people.
Yeah, it's usually a percent, right? Like, everyone thinks it's 10%, but then in reality it's 1%, and then they quit because it was way harder, more expensive, more difficult, more time consuming, so much more failure than anyone anticipated. And that's the biggest problem with these salespeople, marketers, entrepreneurs, is they go into these ideas and they go into these sales campaigns or marketing campaigns or entrepreneurship, and they think it's going to be like really easy, really fast. But in reality, it's so much harder, much more expensive, and so much more failure that you have to overcome and address and be tenacious to do to actually make it a reality.
Definitely.
And luckily for me, like when I did Seamless, my current company, like, I worked for 3 years straight, no money, failed over and over again, had people try to screw me over, like, just ran out of money a bunch of times, like, but I was so passionate and mission driven, and I anticipated it would take 10 years of hard work, failure, 10 years of way more money, 10 years of way more people. So that way, when I ran up to year 1 failure, year 2 failure, year 3 failure, trying to build and launch this product, I didn't quit because I assumed that it would take 10 years. And I had this decade-long mindset of, I'm going to go all out for 10 years, and I will either die or survive making this thing a reality. The only thing that's stopping me is going to be passing away from getting.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the level of dedication you actually need to survive in this competitive world. When I was reading the book, when you said, I made this.
Thank you for picking up the book, by the way, man. I really appreciate it.
No, it was my pleasure. So, it mentions like, I made this much and this much. I was laughing because what most people do, they spend $250,000 getting the education, getting the degree in order to earn that much money. And you made that much money and even more before you even sort of graduated and had a degree. That was amazing.
Yeah. Now, I believe that if you're not willing to invest in your success and go all in on yourself from an education perspective, you will lose. So, like, I always valued building a company and being an entrepreneur or a salesperson or a marketer while also getting an education. So like I still got my undergrad, I still got my MBA while I'm working and running companies full time. And it's just like, I believe that till this day, I got coached. I pay to get coached by the Guinness Book of World Records speed reader, because that's how much I believe in the power of reading and the power of knowledge. Books are the navigation to where you want to go. So if you want to generate $1 million in sales, there's 1 million books that will teach you how to do that. If you want to become a billionaire, there's a bunch of books, biographies or whatever, that will show you how to do that. And if you want to invest in real estate, whatever it is, anything that you want to do, there are books and people who teach you how to do it. And that's the navigation. That knowledge, getting that knowledge and studying that knowledge is the navigation to go from point A to point B, which is your goals and your dreams, and making them a reality. So like, I do believe you have to go all in on education, and you have to go all in on self-improvement every day.
Absolutely. So you and Seamless.AI, you're a perfect example of how adversity kind of leads to opportunity. And I loved how you had the biggest sort of life epiphany when you were, I think, about to be fired for investing $500,000 in lists, which turned out to be not accurate. So
it was like $2 to $3 million in these sales lists. So
Jesus.
Yeah, so I was selling for IBM and Google, and at the time we were getting pitched by all these, like, we need to sell our digital marketing services and our ad media. I needed basically the lists of all the marketers, right? So when I was when I was selling for Party Poker and Poker Stars, my affiliate marketing agency, we had all the college students, like they were all just around us, and then we ran ads to landing page, and it was easy to target. But then in mobile failed because we didn't have the B2B sales lists of all the like the digital marketers at the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 that we need to sell to. So then when I quit entrepreneurship after in mobile, shut that company down, and went to sell for IBM and Google, the first thing I knew was I need the list. Like, your sales success, your marketing success, your entrepreneurship success relies on one thing: having the sales list for everyone that you need to sell to. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to interview all these companies that have these lists of people that we need to sell to. And I interviewed all the top databases. And then they all promise you, these databases all promise you the world. We're going to do this. Like, we'll have all these people. We'll have the emails and phone numbers for all these people. And, one database was like 1 million. Another one was 500,000. Another one was 1.5 million. And the reality is like, when we cut the check to get the databases, we logged in to the platform, and we'd start doing the title searches: marketing here, digital marketing here, VP of acquisition marketing there, you name it. And the results just kept showing 0, 0, 0. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I can't tell my chief revenue officer that we just spent $3 million, $2 million on these sales lists, and they're missing every single person that we need to sell to. So really out of livelihood, I'm like, shit, I can't lose my job. I just quit my second company. I have no money. I can't lose my job, my sales job now. So I just started calling all the engineers in my network, and I'm like, hey, what if we built this like real-time search engine like Google, but for salespeople, where you could type in any title, any company, and get all the real-time contacts that match your search criteria, all the real-time companies that match that search criteria. And then we built that search engine, and it was amazing. We had I could type in any title, any company that I needed to sell to, boom. Thousands of people that match that search criteria. And then I'm like, well, shit, now I need to email and call them. So I was like, what if we built this like 10-step AI engine that would research, validate, verify perfect email, cell phones, and insights? And then I worked with the engineers. So the search engine took 1.5 years to build. And I almost went bankrupt year after year of my own income. Then it took another 1.5 years to figure out how to build the 10-step AI engine to find the emails and cell phones and insights and research and validate it instantly. So year after year, I would work with these engineers, and I'd bring them on as partners, and we'd build it for a year, and then they would quit because it was too hard. We'd build it for another year, and then they would quit because it was too hard. And I remember it was my third year. I was completely out of money, and I hired 3 engineers with the last, I leveraged everything I owned, and I hired these 3 engineers, and Austin was the lead, tech lead, and he's like, I know how to build this thing. And I'm like, he's like, we need to re-architect the database. We need to re-architect this and that. And we need to re-architect the search engine, the AI engine, boom, boom, boom. And he's like, it's going to take 3 months. And I'm like, dude, I've got money for like 60 days. I was like, do it in 60 days. And if you don't nail it, we're bankrupt and we got to shut down everything. Little behold, he goes all out the next 60 days. We launch it, $0 to millions of dollars. And we survived that 3 years of hell building the product. And then once we launched it, it was amazing. And now we get to power 100,000 sales teams, marketing teams, companies, by helping them connect opportunity with Seamless, which finds emails and cell phones for anyone in the world.
It's amazing, the things you've been through. And I think passion and love for the product are only a couple of things that sort of, you could have easily become a statistic where, you were one of those 90% startups that fail. But because, you believed in the idea and yourself, you were able to, pull this off. And now, you're good.
And that's that decade-long mindset. So going into my third company at 29 years old, I knew that my first company was successful and for whatever reasons. I knew why my second company failed for whatever reasons. It was because I didn't have the list, I didn't know how to sell, and I also quit too early. And that way, when I was getting into building Seamless and going full-time on Seamless, because I saw the power of it to help me generate $100 million in sales, selling for IBM and Google, and becoming a multimillionaire as a salesperson. When I just knew going into it that, like, I got to commit 10 years. Like, everyone always underestimates the amount of time and capital and work it takes. So I'm like, I'm not going to quit early. I'm going to go all out for 10 years. And it will either, like, that's 1/8 of my life, 1/9 of my life potentially, or 1/6, whatever. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm all in. I want to build a company that IPOs. And the decade-long, do whatever it takes, never quit for 10 years straight really helped me do that. And you got to, like, every day I write down my goals. And they're so mission-driven. Like right now, goals for 2020, 100 million users on Seamless, positively impact 1 billion people, 100,000 users into the 7-figure President's Club winners. That means that I've helped 100,000 people generate over $1 million in sales and win our award, the 7-figure Club Award. 1 million sales a day, 100,000 books sold, 1 million hours of my content watched, world's best husband, and I'm not married yet, 1 million donated to charity a year, and then the world's most fit plant-powered vegan. So, like, I just have these massive goals, and I write them down every day, and they're very purpose-driven. Like, the reason why I want to be like this, the world's most fit plant-powered vegan, is because the 5 deadliest diseases in the world are caused by the food that we eat, the meat, the dairy, the cheese, all this shit. And I believe that if you change to a whole food plant-powered diet, you can literally avoid and cure the top 5 deadliest diseases globally. And, like, there's these just different missions. Like, I want to positively impact 1 billion people. I want to help them get to connect opportunity faster than ever before. And the decade-long mindset, 10-year mindset, plus massive purpose-driven goals to change a lot of people's lives will help you stay motivated when the world has your back against the wall.
Definitely. That's amazing advice. So now, I want to talk about the famous Gary Vaynerchuk interview. And the thing, I absolutely love about the interview is in 7 minutes, you and Gary were able to discuss some of the insights that were so important, because if you think about them on a very deep level, they can truly change your perspective. So a couple of things that stood out was what Gary said, scaling the unscalable, and then the give and take versus providing sort of massive amounts of value so that you can sell without asking to. So can you just get a bit more into that?
Yeah, so Gary was great. I mean, it was really hard to pin him down. It took me like a year and a half to get that interview. And a lot of crazy shit went into locking that down. But, his advice was really scale the unscalable. Like, do the hard things that are right. Like the highly value-driven, personalized messaging, the highly, hard value-driven. Like, he used an example. And, at the beginning, anytime that anyone would tweet him or comment on his YouTube or any of his content, he would always respond back manually, himself. I'm like, that's a great example of like doing the unscalable, scaling the unscalable. Like it's really hard when you've got millions of followers to respond to everyone that comments. But like at the beginning, he was doing that all the time. He was manually emailing customers, asking them about their experience. You know, he had one customer that he found out loved this team, this football team. So he bought him the football jersey, and then that person ended up buying like $25,000 worth of wine. Like, so it was just really awesome to hear him say like, it's so easy to do mass emails and mass social messaging and mass calls without any personalization, without any value. And the core feedback, the core piece of advice was, you got to do the hard things that aren't scalable, the stuff that takes time, the stuff where if people get it or read it or view it or hear from you, they're like, damn, I cannot believe this guy reached out to me, or this woman, this man, whoever, this person reached out to me, and they're trying to help me and change my life that way. You know, you can think of it as video marketing, like doing a custom video to a prospect, things like that.
True. I mean, but you know, the another thing that sort of leads into my point number 2 was he doesn't come from a place which is which many of us do, which is a give and take. So if I do something for you, you have to do something for me. He bought the jersey, but he, I think, wouldn't expect that, you know, for the other client to buy something of his own. But he does it out of, you know, he just creates so much value that at the end of the day, it builds reciprocity and people are indirectly forced to buy.
Yeah, exactly. He basically says by doing the unscalable and by constantly giving to your audience and your prospects and your customers, that eventually that shit will come around. People, for example, it took me a year to write 7-figure social selling. And I wrote it because I maximized my sales success because of sales, because of Seamless, because of all the scripts that I used in social selling. And I wanted to pour my heart and soul out into that book so that other people can benefit, right? And by doing that, like I literally invested a year of my free time in writing it and publishing it. But look at, you know, it positively impacted you. Now we're on this podcast. So like, when you give to other people and try to help them with what you've learned, eventually we'll come back around. And maybe we're on this podcast and maybe this could positively impact someone's life. And then they bring me a new client or they feature me in a book or an article, you know, who knows? I just do this stuff because I like to share what I've learned because I've failed a lot and I've been through a lot of hardship. And if I could help people avoid that hardship and maximize their potential 10 times faster, easier, smarter, better, that's what I'm here to do.
That's amazing. And, thank you again for doing this. It's such an, pleasure. Right. So, moving on, as I sort of understand, there are 4 main steps when it comes to sales. And those are prospecting, profitable relationship building, pitching, and then, finally closing. And I would like to, obviously with your help, provide a sort of a framework of the industry's do's and don'ts so anyone can sort of start selling today. So on that note, prospecting is like the process of identifying potential customers, but there are some fatal mistakes that people often make. So can you identify these mistakes and also suggest some of the best practices for creating a perfect or near perfect prospective list?
I would say the number one mistake is people do paralysis by analysis. They think they need to have everything figured out. They think that they need to have the perfect message, the perfect script, the perfect calls, perfect emails, perfect social touches. And then they don't get started for months or years. It's like you just have to get started. You just have to get started right now. So write a few scripts, launch your call campaign, launch your email campaign, launch your social campaign. You're going to learn from failure. You're going to learn from the experience over time. I think keep it rolling. So just get started is my best piece of advice. And don't let paralysis by analysis and the 90 things from 90 different experts to tell you what you need to have done. Just get started and rock and roll.
True. In one of your videos on your YouTube channel, it mentions the importance of how prospecting during the weekend can be so powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I think, do what other people aren't doing, right? So if you've got everyone that's off on the weekend, then, and you're the only salesperson out of 1 million salespeople working and selling over the weekend, then you've got an untapped channel. And that's a huge opportunity for you.
Definitely. So the next step would be relationship building. Now, what are some of the things you've seen that make your blood boil as a sales expert, and what should people really be doing?
Yeah, as a relationship building, the thing that kills me the most is when people send like unpersonalized messaging. They're just mass blasting people. They sell B2B SaaS software to MarTech, yet they'll email 1 million people in 50 different industries. You have to get really specific about who's your one persona in your one industry with the one title at the one employee size, with the one value proposition, the one social proof, the one call to action that you can help. Don't try to sell everything to everybody. When you try to sell everything to everybody, you sell nothing. But if you try to sell one thing to one person in one industry in one niche, you're going to win, and you're going to sell, and you're going to be able to scale.
Definitely. And then, the third step would be pitching. So do you recommend, making scripts? And if yes, what are some of the critical best practices one should be mindful of?
Yeah, I definitely recommend scripting. In my book, I talk about how the importance of scripts. I've got 30 reasons why scripts are critical for your success. Mm-hmm. Scripts just allow you to listen more intently, and they also allow you to prepare in advance to win the game. So if you're playing football, you've got all the different plays that you're going to play to win the championship football game in advance. Well, the same goes with scripting. In sales, you could plan in advance what you're going to say in your call, your opener, your voicemail, your email, your social touch, all your sales objections. I'm not interested, no budget, it's too expensive, already working with someone, send me more information, I'm not interested, I don't have budget, what's your guarantee, talk to my boss, I need to think about it. All of those things, I have 1,000 ways for each of those to overcome, right? And you have to be prepared. You have to have scripts and be prepared to overcome any one of those situations. Send me more info, tell me more, you name it, all of these things. You've got solutions for them. You just got to figure it out.
Now, finally, we're at sort of closing, and this is mentioned in a couple of your videos, and also in general, what everyone says that, salespeople, the biggest mistake they make is not have an outcome for the conversation. So can you expand on that, and what would your advice be to increasing the closing rate?
Yeah, I would say a lot of case studies. Something to help with your close rate is having a lot of case studies and social proof. You really need to be able to show people the transformation and the results that they're going to generate from moving forward with your solution. If they buy Seamless and you go to www.presidentsclubawards.com, you'll see 50 case studies, video case studies of people that are generating millions upon millions of dollars using our product. And they're on video. You can't make this shit up. So these are real testimonials, real people of how the product has changed their life for the better. And I would say, if you want to increase your close rate, make sure you've got amazing case studies. So it'd be first get a client and deliver amazing results, then record a case study and just try to get as many case studies as possible, because that shows people what you could do for them.
Definitely. And all of this, this would be mentioned in your new book, The Sales Secret from the Top 1%. And I'm really looking forward for it to come out. So if you'd like to talk about it.
Yes. So Sales Secrets from the Top 1% is my new book. I've got 2 coming out. We wrote 16 books, and we're launching them in order of priority. Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where we interview all the world's best sales experts and figure out what their number one top sales secret is to sales success. So that's our new book. We've interviewed over 100 people, the top world's best sales experts, and they literally tell you their number one sales secret. You can pick that up at secretsalesbook.com, secretsalesbook.com. You can pre-order it right now. It should be getting published in the next 30 days or so, which is amazing. Then also we've got another book called The 7-Figure Habits. So The 7-Figure Habits was written because really of COVID. Literally, people are running away. They're quitting their jobs. They're scared of everything. And I wanted to write a book that talks about the mindset and the habits that you need to succeed during any environment, whether it's an economic collapse due to the recession, the banking industry, due to COVID, you name it. These habits have helped us build a 8-figure business, and soon to be 9-figure business during one of the world's most craziest recessions due to COVID and the health crisis that's going on. And it can be used to go through any economic recession, whether the economy is good or bad. 7-figure habits teaches you the success habits, the success motivational traits, and secrets that you need to execute every day to maximize your success. So should be great. You're going to be able to get that on Amazon. All you have to do is search for 7-figure success habit.
Definitely. I'll link all of those in the description. Now, before I let you go, one final question, which is, your father's formula for achieving success in sales was to sort of build sales list and then sell all day and all night to the list. Now, with all your professional experience, what is your key advice you'd like to impart on our listeners?
My best advice would be just one list away from the life you want, the family you want, the marriage you want, the kids you want, the education you want, the mentors you want, the partners you want, the investors you want. Everything in your life is just one list away. And you just have to build the list, find the list, connect with the people and companies on that list to create opportunity. Everything I've accomplished, from raising millions of dollars in venture capital funding to just selling over $100 million in sales, to interviewing some of the world's most global experts and celebrities and influencers. Everything I've accomplished was because I built the list, and then I prospected and sold to that list. So don't forget, you're just one list away, and you can build that list for free at Seamless.AI, where you can find emails and cell phones for anyone in the world for free. So check it out and join Seamless.ai today.
That's amazing. Thank you, Brandon, for coming on to the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Rajdeep, thank you so much. And for everyone tuning in to the World Education Podcast, I hope this was valuable. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I post daily sales tips, strategies, and best practices to help you maximize your success. And also, I've got a daily newsletter at Seamless.ai for daily sales, entrepreneurship, marketing, and motivation. Feel free to get that newsletter for free at Seamless.ai. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate you, and be great. Let's make this next year biggest and best yet.
You've been listening to the SUCCESSology Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, make sure to leave a review on Apple Podcast and share it with a friend. That would help too. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with Raj on his personal LinkedIn at Rajdeep Singh, on Instagram at Rajdeep.1997, on Instagram at SUCCESSology.podcast, and on YouTube at SUCCESSology Podcast, helping you create your own definition of success. Make your own path to get there quicker. Until next time, this is the SUCCESSology Podcast signing off.